the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're just hours away now from the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500. As always, it's the stories that the month of May produces that makes this special day so memorable. On opening day, 4 new faces took to the track. Marco Andretti passed his rookie test and joins his legendary father Michael in the field of hopefuls. When the rest of the drivers got on the track, Buddy Rice, the 2004 champion, hit the same wall that sidelined him last year, but this time he walked away okay. Meanwhile, Sam Hornish Jr. let it be known that he would be the man to beat. He dominated 6 of the 7 days of practice. On pole day, the only thing to hit the yard of bricks was rain. No qualifying took place over the entire first weekend, thus setting up an all-out shootout for the pole.
The battle is on. 228.985 for Sam Hornish Jr.
Bump day. Sam Hornish Jr. running behind Danica Patrick loses control and crashes into turn 1 in his backup car. The good news is he's okay, and his primary car is still ready to race. Later on that day, Marty Reid, trying to find more speed before making a qualifying run, also makes contact in turn 1, thus securing Tiago Madeira's first ever start in the Indianapolis 500. Those are just a few of the events that set the stage for the excitement that is to come tomorrow here at the 90th running of the greatest spectacle in racing. Hello, everyone. I'm Jerry Punch, and over the next half hour, we will preview the greatest spectacle in racing, hear from the drivers making news, and get you ready for the green flag. Now, the hottest 2 drivers here are Sam Hornish Jr. and Helio Castroneves. Since going 1-2 in qualifying, they have been interviewed countlessly. So we thought we'd have a little fun with them and let them do the interviewing. Take a look.
Here we go. Well, I have a question for you. Well, you never finish a race here. Hey, that's what they said. I mean, how important is it for you to complete all 200 laps?
It's the most important part of this month, is to be able to go out there, finish all 500 miles. As a pole sitter, what advice can you give me?
Wow, look at you, huh? Asking for advice. I think you should back off, let me by, and follow me.
That sounds like a plan to me. What would it mean for you to win a 3rd Indy 500?
I would say it would mean everything in my life, basically. So far, everything I started here, even that I didn't know much about Indy, but when I won my first one, it would mean basically everything. So you're gonna help me, aren't you?
I'm gonna try.
Okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Next year, I'm gonna try to help you win your 3rd one next year.
You're doing too well this year, buddy. But anyway, now it's my turn. Who's the best dressed driver in our team? Come on, that was easy, huh?
I don't know. Last night that was me, but most of the time you are pretty fancy.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
What will it take to beat me?
Maybe break your legs.
That'd be pretty.
That's pretty easy, yeah. It will be tough. No doubt about you're gonna be one of the toughest guys out there, man. Last one. This is a very important one. Who is going to win the Indy 500?
Well, hopefully it's a Marble Team Penske car.
What a guy.
One of us.
Isn't
Either
this
one.
guy getting better and better every day? Oh, my God, I like that.
Let's say that I win, though.
Okay.
You're known for climbing fences. What kind of a victory celebration should I do?
I don't know. I think you need to salute the fans, like going like, like this.
That might be a really good one to do.
That'll be good, huh?
Yep.
All right, good.
Well, thanks, guys, and good luck tomorrow. Now, let's take a look at the field for the 90th running of the Indianapolis 500. On row 1, Sam Hornish Jr. and Helio Castroneves will lead him down 1-2. Outside of row 1, last year's 2005 winner, Dan Wheldon. In row 2, the 2003 IRL Series champion Scott Dixon, last year's pole sitter Tony Kanaan, and last year's runner-up in this race, Vitor Meira. Kosuke Matsura, former Rookie of the Year here. Scott Sharp, the 2001 pole sitter, and the fastest qualifying rookie in the field, Marco Andretti. Back in row 4, Danica Patrick, who almost won the pole in the race a year ago, Thomas Schechter, a former Rookie of the Race here at Indianapolis, and Ed Carpenter, who could be a contender before this day is over. Row 5, Michael Andretti coming out of retirement for his 15th Indy 500 start, the 2004 champion Buddy Rice, and impressive rookie Townsend Bell. Row 6, a pair of Andretti Green teammates, Brian Herta along with Dario Franchitti, and the outside, Max Pappas. Row 7, the 98 winner Eddie Cheever Jr., rookie P.J. Chesson, and Felipe Giafoni driving for A.J. Foyt. Row 8, Jeff Bucknam, Larry Foyt, and Jacques Lazier. Row 9, the 1996 winner Buddy Lazier, Jeff Simmons, and a two-time Indy 500 champion Al Unser Jr. Row 10, Roger Yasukawa, Ayrton Dare, and the Frenchman Stéphane Gregoire. In the final row, a pair of rookie drivers, Arie Luyendyk Jr. and Tiago Medeiros flanking P.J. Jones. Now joining me, last year's pole sitter Tony Kanaan. TK, thanks for coming by.
You're welcome.
You know, last year you started on the pole here. This year you start in the middle of row 2. Which puts more pressure on the driver?
Oh, for sure the pole. I mean, I have to say that every year that I came here, I started my first year in 2002, I haven't started worse than 5th. But last year's was definitely the most pressure that I got. I mean, you know, you're starting first, your chances are much higher. So I had to talk about the race and stuff. This year actually being kind of the, if we could call ourselves the underdogs, because it's all Ganassi and Penske. We might like to, I like to surprise people, as you guys know, as a jokes, and I would like to play that joke on Sunday, tomorrow.
Well, let me just cut to the chase and ask you, what's it going to take tomorrow in the Indy 500 for not Andretti Green Racing, but Tony Kanaan to beat Team Penske and Team Ganassi?
Patience, good pit stops, and luck. It's going to be my day. If it's not going to be my day, I think somebody upstairs already knows who's going to win this thing. And if it's going to be my day, I'm going to feel very, very lucky. The only thing I can do is do my best, and we'll see what's going to happen.
Hey, best of luck to you, my friend. I hope it's a TK kind of day.
We'll try. I'm not drinking milk until tomorrow.
Okay. We'll be watching Team Andretti Green Racing very closely in tomorrow's Indianapolis 500. And here's a look at how the team's 5 drivers this year have fared at the 500. A total of 25 starts among them, and as yet, no victory. Coming up, the 2005 Indy 500 winner Dan Wheldon and his teammate, former IndyCar Series champion Scott Dixon. This year marks the 90th running of the Indianapolis 500, the most famous race in motorsports, and you never know who will show up at the Brickyard. Comedians, ex-presidents, champs, singers, and some of Hollywood's brightest. Today, a celebrity of a different kind, Lance Armstrong, winner of an unprecedented 7 consecutive titles at the Tour de France.
When we got the phone call to ask if I was interested in driving the pace car at India, I mean, it was a very short conversation. I mean, it was like, are you kidding? Of course. I mean, it's a huge honor, and hopefully I can, you know, not mess things up if that's possible.
Oh, goodness gracious. 1, 2, 3.
I mean, it'll be a rush driving around with 250,000 people. You know, in the opening laps, that's probably when they're as loud as they could be, just screaming for their favorite driver. I mean, you try to take all of that in, it will have been a long time. It will have been almost a year since I heard that as a sportsman, so it'll be neat to get a little bit of that back. I mean, I suspect at 100 miles an hour with the sound of the engine, you'll still hear the people screaming. We have a quasi-Texas look, which I think is nice. If we just took one of the stars off, it would officially be a Texas car. Cool.
All right, 2 of the guys who will be just behind Lance Armstrong in that pace car on race day are the Target Ganassi drivers, Dan Wheldon and Scott Dixon. Guys, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, good to see you.
Dan, I got to ask you, how does your approach this year to the race as a front row starter differ from what you did a year ago starting back in the middle of the pack?
Well, I think last year actually qualifying towards the back was a blessing in disguise because it made me work so hard on my race car that actually coming through the field was perhaps a little bit easier than it would have been because I really did focus on making the car work in traffic. But I'm really going to take the same approach. I'm going to try and get to the front as quick as possible and just try and stay there. I think that way you can control the race more.
Scott, all month long the talk has not been about drivers, but more about teams. Team Target Ganassi versus Team Penske. In your mind, what's going to make the difference for Team Target Ganassi on race day?
I think our team, we've focused and tried to, work really hard on our race setup. In the past few races this year, it seems like Penske has come back towards us a little bit in the race as far as speed. So I think we're looking pretty good. It's going to be a tough day with the weather. It's going to be a lot hotter than any of us have raced or practiced on so far this month.
Dan, if the Team Penske guys try to team up and pull away, what can you guys do about it?
I think if those two are up front, you've got to separate them as quick as possible because Mr. Penske's pretty good at calling a race. So we need to spoil his party as much as we can.
At what point in the race do you guys stop being teammates and start being competitors?
I think, throughout the race, you're competing against everybody, obviously, but, I think it comes down basically to the last pit stop. Once you've got the last pit stop out of the way, that's when you got to turn it up, and that's when the race really plays out. And last year it definitely happened that way as well. Dan fighting with Danica and Vitor and all those people. So I think it's, you're obviously going to give your teammate more room, but if it comes down to it, that's when you start competing.
Next month, ESPN will air a 1-hour special on your jet set lifestyle. What should we expect in that show?
I don't know. I don't know how much they've edited the show.
PG?
I dread to think, but no, it's been great, and sometimes it gets tiresome. But I think you'll see what we do in our free time, how we get to and from the track, and a little bit of what goes on away from the track, which hopefully they edited a lot of that stuff out.
Guys, thanks so much for coming by. We leave you with a little bit of a snippet of this special we just talked about, Dan Wheldon's Race for Indy.
Have to get to the track quick because I made a big change of teams over winter, and I'm determined to show everybody that it's the right one.
Castroneves on the inside, Wheldon on the outside, at the stripe, it is Wheldon!
This is where the magic happens. The mechanics would much prefer you in the car than me because you're much more beautiful than I am, so they'd love that.
Heading off to Daytona now for the 24-hour race. Looking forward to it. Normally I have a young, naked blonde do this, but unfortunately,
well, it's like the Indianapolis 500 of sports cars. If we continue like this, we'll be all right, huh?
You know that Wheldon rooted for Danica Patrick to beat you.
Here is the Indianapolis 500 champion, Dan Wheldon.
Well, obviously, we're entering the Speedway now, and it's an amazing place to kind of get the juices flowing.
Time now to welcome in the 2005 Indy 500 Rookie of the Year, Danica Patrick. And Danica, thanks for coming over to join us.
Thank you.
What did you learn from the Indy 500 a year ago that will help you in tomorrow's race here to survive 500 miles?
Probably the advice that it's long, that it's just a long race. So much can happen, and I was pretty good proof of that last year. To start in the front, stall, go to the back, making my way forward again, crash, go to the back, and then on strategy, make it to the front, and then able to challenge for the win. And so I think that staying calm is the most important thing, and making wise moves. There's a lot that can happen out there.
If I'm sitting at home and I'm talking to some Danica Patrick fans, and they're saying, okay, now Danica Patrick, she's qualified 10th, so she's in a good spot, but then they look at the starting grid and they say, oh my, she's 4 miles an hour slower than Sam Hornish on the pole. How does she win the race? So I ask you, how do you win the race?
For me, it's to stay smart and not make mistakes. And so while someone or a couple are a lot faster than me, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're guaranteed a win. There's so many other ever-changing things in the race that go on. So for me, it's just going to be staying cool, staying calm, and staying in the front.
Hey, Danica, thanks for coming by.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Well, now for a preview of this year's Indianapolis 500, let's join my ABC Sports colleagues who will be calling the race.
Along with Rusty Wallace, Scott Goodyear, I'm Marty Reid. And on the eve of the 90th running of the Indianapolis 500, everybody keeps asking us, who's going to win? Who's going to win? So now I'm going to put all three of us on the spot. I'll start with Scott, then go to Rusty. Give me your favorite for the race, and then who might be also one of those guys who could sneak in, steal it away.
Well, everybody's looking at Penske, but you know something? I guess I'm going to look at Target Chip Ganassi. I'm going to look at Wheldon. It just seems like everything's going in stride for him. I know he has not been the fastest every day in qualifying, but I have to say it looks like he's ready for the race. A dark horse, I'm going to go with Scott Sharp, simply because I've been watching him in the track, spending all month running in traffic, working on race day setup. He's been on the pole. He's been on the front row. He's not won the race yet. Rusty?
Well, I guess I'm supposed to say Team Penske, but you know what? Yesterday, I watched Scott Dixon run. I loved his line. I talked to Rick Mears last night, and Rick Mears said, you know, Scott Dixon's got a great line around this place. So you know what? I'm picking Scott Dixon. And who I think's got another shot? Tony Kanaan. I like his attitude, and he says he's ready to go.
Well, I'm going to be different than all three of you. I like Helio Castroneves as the favorite, and Vitor Meira, the only single-car team in the top 19 qualifiers to make it into the field in that top 19. I think he has the outside shot. What should we expect to unfold? Now, we are expecting big temperatures. How is that going to change the race?
The heat's going to affect it in two ways. Number one, the cars are going to slide around the racetrack. The cars are going to have more downforce on them, use a little bit more fuel. The driver's cockpit's very hot, 135 degrees inside the cockpit. And Rusty, these guys don't get the luxury of a cool suit like you guys do in NASCAR.
It's going to be hot out there, Scott, that's for sure. But, you know, people want us to predict the winners of this race. It's such a tough one. There are so many guys that can win this race, whether it's Helio Castroneves, Sam Hornish, Kanaan, Dixon, like I picked, people like that. But it is going to be a hot one. And I believe that is the main thing everybody's going to have a problem with. It's going to be hot out there.
Well, you're going to be able to see it all on ABC. We'll be on the air starting at 12 noon Eastern Time. We'll see you then for the 90th running of the Indianapolis 500.
Thanks, guys. Next month, ESPN2 premieres an all-access 8-part series on rookie Marco Andretti. You know, last Saturday, Marco Andretti qualified 9th for his very first Indianapolis 500. Let's take a look back at that historic day.
Just do whatever you've been doing all month long. Relax. 6 practice laps, all you're going to do. Be smooth. You're doing a hell of a job. Welcome.
Marco Andretti. Not bad for a 19-year-old to be getting set to qualify for his first Indy 500.
Okay, there's our green flag, green flag.
Oh boy, this is going to be good.
Okay, there comes the checker. Down to the checker. Good job, Tony. Very, very, very good job.
Marco Andretti has easily qualified for this one, and impressively 224.918, the 4-lap average. That is good for the outside of row number 2.
Good job. Great job.
Hey, solid.
My whole life, you know, I couldn't wait to be here, and now that I am and actually qualified for this thing, I'm definitely excited. But come on, I mean, this is my first one, and I'm only 19.
You know, over the years, these 3 Andrettis have been the fastest rookies in their respective Indy 500 fields. Hey, note the qualifying speed differential between Marco and his grandfather. Coming up, the Ironman of the IndyCar Series, Scott Sharp, and last year's 500 runner-up, Vitor Meira, when ready to race, returns. Up next, coverage of the $50 million NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series continues right here on ESPN2. It's the O'Reilly Auto Parts Summer Nationals from Topeka, Kansas, qualifying tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, and final Sunday at 10 Eastern. We welcome you back to Ready to Race, where we are less than 24 hours away from the greatest spectacle in racing. Well, these guys may not have gotten the headlines they deserve, but a lot of people, myself included, believe they're going to be a factor, you know, in tomorrow's Indy 500. 2001 pole sitter Scott Sharp and last year's race runner-up Vitor Meira. Scott, now this is your 12th Indy 500. Coming off your career best finish of a year ago, what are you most excited about for tomorrow's race?
Well, I think having the continuity of, you know, we had a great month last year, a good race. probably walked away saying maybe we would do a few things differently, and coming in with the Delphi team and just being able to perfect that a little bit. You know, maybe remembering those things, thinking a lot about those things, working towards those things this month. And I think setting ourselves up in a much better position for the, you know, the race car, the longevity, the consistency you're going to need to hopefully run towards the front all day long.
Vitor, 4 runner-up finishes in your career, including this race a year ago, and a great effort by your team. What's it going to take for you to get that first win in tomorrow's Indy 500?
It's a 500-mile race. It takes everything. I mean, from good cars to have a good pit crew and have a little bit of luck and planning good. I mean, that's why the 500 is the 500. It takes a little bit of everything.
Scott, a lot of the experts in the garage area believe there are 4 cars that could really dominate this race from Team Penske and Team Target Ganassi. What do you think?
It's about consistency, about having a car that can get through traffic all day long, not a car that's on the knife edge for ultimate speed, but, you know, maybe losing air and sliding up into the wall or whatever. So I think, you know, certainly if, you know, particularly Sam, you know, he's had an unbelievable month, has seemed to be a little ahead of everybody all the time. And if he has some magic car that can do that even when he's in traffic, he's going to be hard for anyone to catch.
Well, guys, we appreciate you coming by. We wish you the best of luck.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Well, the Indianapolis 500 is rich in history and tradition. And to celebrate this, the 90th running, we take 90 seconds to look back at the best of the best. In 1911, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway opened its gates as an excited public cheered Ray Haroon's Marmon Wasp to victory.
Good morning, race fans everywhere. It's the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
Becomes the first two-time winner. We have the front car to average more than 100 miles per hour. Willie Meyer wins his third 500 and quenches his thirst for a drink of milk.
Slides across the line, and he becomes the winner of the big 500 at Indianapolis Memorial Day Classic.
Rose is the winner of the 31st running of the Indianapolis 500-mile Motor Speedway Classic.
Vukovic is way out in front now. Vukovic has picked up that lead again and is extending.
Voigt crosses the finish line. A.J. Voigt, winner of the half-century Indianapolis 500.
And here's the checkered flag for Mario Andretti. Al Unser, winner of the 1971 Indianapolis 500-mile race.
It's the new track record.
Schneeber is on the pole and in the history books.
Denny Sullivan spins.
Rick Meir is 4-time winner of the Indianapolis 500.
Goodyear makes a move. Little Al wins by just a few tenths of a second.
R.A. Lyondike, a new track record.
Helio Castroneves has won the Indianapolis 500.
Amberton, England's Dan Wheldon. He's going to move to the inside of the Roscoe, Illinois native. They're side by side. Wheldon will try to take the lead into one. He will get the job done.
89 years of history, 89 years of storied memories. You know, dating back to 1911, 64 different men have crossed this yard of bricks and been crowned an Indy 500 champion. Tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern Time on ABC, 33 of the world's greatest race drivers will compete right here for 500 miles. And while we don't know who will win the 90th running of the greatest spectacle in racing, what we do know is this: whoever he or she is, it'll definitely change their life forever. Good night, everybody. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.